Hi, everybody. It's the show with Ron. And I had my own October surprise. That last video I did, why would anyone vote for Trump? An explanation. It, um, it blew up. Well, at least on my scale of the world, it blew up. So I got 801 organic views. I didn't. I'm not sure if I posted anywhere about it, but I mean, you can't promote these any video where you mention a candidate's name. Apparently, otherwise it's considered electioneering, or even if you're trying to be kind of middle of the road, nonpartisan, look at the issues, which is what I'm trying to do. And I was super thrilled that I even got some comments, 40 comments. Holy cow. So apparently this only means somehow I serendipitously gamed the algorithm, probably by the title, Why Would Anyone Vote for Trump? That's a great clickbaity one. But I thought, even, some of the comments, and I really appreciate all the comments people had, and some of them I wasn't sure if they were criticizing me because they thought I was for one candidate or another, because, in this day and age, everything is about spin. Nothing's about the reality of it, which is what I'm trying to get down to. We're going to get to that in a moment, but I want to thank everybody for their comments. Anybody who would subscribe to my channel, because I'm trying to cut through the interference in the world, and I'm trying to see what's really behind it, beyond the spin. So some of these comments are really good. There's a lot of ignorant people, a lot of delusional people. There's a lot of people understandably upset at our current system. And, in a way, I think both of the candidates kind of have to have that message. And it's a little harder for Harris because she's coming from an incumbent administration. It's pretty difficult for her to say everything's a mess and she's going to fix it. It's easier for Trump to say that. But, in a way, Trump sometimes, as often, is not a good campaigner, and he's not clear on his message, and he creates more dross for the media to try to report, to try to show that he's a crazy person or an incompetent person. We have a reply to that. Always good to get your insight to these U.S. only situations after we get saturation coverage that is only slanted this way and that, this way or that. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to do. Here's somebody, Trump is toast, mark my words. His supporters are going to have meltdowns and F it up for everyone when he loses. That may be the case. And I think whoever wins, we might have a lot of craziness. Probably there's going to be a lot more craziness if Trump wins, from people trying to resist him. I wonder about the ultimate chances for civil discord and disobedience. I guess it seems on the surface it would be a lot more for Trump, because the media and a lot of the left has really promoted that idea that he's a big problem. On the other hand, he was president before. He's kind of a known quantity. He's his own worst enemy. I don't know. Hopefully, if anything radical is supposed to happen that he would want to do, it is tempered just by maybe, hopefully, resistance within his own political party. Now, here we have someone, why would anyone listen to you? Now, here's the reason. I'm going to tell you why. We have a thing. I remember in the 1990s, I started to hear about spin for the first time. And when I realized this was about spinning the reality of things, is to getting out in the media, getting out into the 24-hour media cycle, which kind of developed in the 1980s and got really big in the 1990s with all of the 24-hour news channels and the beginning of the internet as well. And so you just get on there like people today do on YouTube, and they do on X, and they spin things. They try to say one side is finished. It's not really based on the reality. It's kind of to help the electioneering cycle along. And I remember even back in the 1990s, I thought, well, I see spin is actually kind of like lying somewhat, or outright lying. And that's what we see a lot of in the media. And the reason you maybe listen, if not to me, but to my channel, what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to get beneath the level of spin into the reality, because you know that in the Harris campaign, in the Trump campaign, even if you don't like the top candidates, those candidates, there are smart people running the party. It's a big money operation, a lot at stake, a lot of stakeholders who have a lot of say. And they're not spinning at that level. They're looking at the reality. They're not saying, oh, we need to just go out and say Trump's a crazy authoritarian or Harris giggles a lot. They're not just spinning it. They're seeing what the reality is. And the reality is, this, we have this, no, this is something else. I was excited about getting rid of property tax. Okay, Harris and Trump locked in dead heat in 7 state polls, with some voters still deciding. They're looking at this. And instead of spinning, instead of saying Trump is a crazy person or Harris giggles a lot, they realize that voters understand who Trump is. The media can say all this stuff they want to about him and try to tell people, like they did the first time around in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, and tell the voters, explain to them why it's crazy to vote for a crazy person like Trump. But not only did that not work in 2016, but we've had a presidency where people have seen what Trump is actually like and what he's likely to be like. He's not likely to be any more organized in the way he does things. So it doesn't make any sense to keep hammering home the January 6th incident, authoritarian tendencies, or that he said something that's racist and thus he's canceled, because people have already taken that into account. So when they're going in and figuring out how to appeal to these final swing states and the swing voters, they've got to go beyond that. And that's exactly what my initial video was trying to explain. We're going below spin into the reality, where people are looking at some of the issues, and to tell them all the crazy things that Trump has done. People already know that. They've already taken account of that, and Trump has already been president. So you got a lot of people out there who are willing to look past all that, which is a little shocking for me still. I'm interested, especially a party like the Republicans that put such stock on personal behavior and comportment, to embrace some of the moral and legal lapses of Trump. And that's the nicest way of saying it. So this was one of the first. Now, don't contact any of these people. It's great that they are commenting. I love it. I appreciate every comment. It's so great. And this person was kind enough. This was one of the first commenters to explain the overview of why not to vote for Trump. They shouldn't. And they gave a good thing where they talked about, racist comments, this dishonesty. There's quite a bit of things where Trump has bent the rules in a way. If a Democrat before the era of Trump who was running for any office had done a hint of the things Trump had done, the Republicans would be up on their high horse saying he was not fit for office. Poor character, COVID-19 failure. I'm not sure if I agree with that. Authoritarianism, misogyny, whatever. But again, you could say all these things, and there was some nice back and forth on this. It was all pretty respectful in the comments, kind of unusual for YouTube. Again, thank you. But when we get below spin, again, it's strange. A lot of people, the people who are voting for Trump or who are considering it, and that's a lot of the country, have already taken into account exactly who Trump is. And if I doubt that the people in these 7 swing states that were still, where they're locked in a dead heat, that any of the electioneering is going to focus on, oh, Trump is dishonest, or he said some misogynistic comments, this sort of thing. They're going to have to go deeper into these issues. Again, this is what my initial video was about, because right now I think you're preaching to the choir a bit if you just say he's unsuited to be president. Certainly the Republicans of old, before the Trump era, would have said Trump would be unsuitable considering all these characteristics. But it's kind of gone beyond that in politics at this time. And if you watch my initial videos where I would talk about the issues of the economy and immigration, et cetera, certainly those issues are the ones that are going to be promoted in those 7 swing states. And all of this, I think, is important to consider. If like, why listen to me or think about these issues in this way? This is all below the level of spin, or maybe above it. I don't know. Spin is what you see on the surface with everybody yelling and screaming and propagandizing each other. The reality is the smart guys in the back room to say, what do we do next? And in my video, we're talking about the issues of that people will decide on, because whether you like it or not, people know who Trump is. And there's almost like a fear-mongering about if he becomes president, all these things will happen. He's already been president. He's a known quantity. Whatever it is, that kind of mutes the idea that you can leverage people on a fear of a Trump presidency, as if it's a brand new thing. I don't. I mean, I'll go on into the rest of the Drudge report today. I think anybody who looked at the Drudge report before the era, before 2020, if I had this up on my screen and one of my coworkers walked by, they would just denigrate me for looking at this ultra right-wing Drudge report, because the Drudge report had a reputation for going hard on Democrats, and especially from 2016 on, the reputation or the criticism was they went very soft on Trump, very hard on the Democrats. And this goes all the way back to the late 90s. And a lot of people, if you were politically active in the 1990s, you may still hate the Drudge report for this, but the Drudge report forced the media, the mainstream print broadcast media, they forced them to deal with the Monica Lewinsky scandal that Clinton had at the time, because this was in the very early ages of the internet, and people thought, well, no, nothing on the internet could possibly be news. The real news is the 6 o'clock news in America, ABC, NBC, CBS. If they decide They're not going to look into this Monica Lewinsky thing. They're not going to print the story. If Newsweek is not going to print the story, uh, it's just not a story. But Drudge kept, they called it yellow journalism, or he's kind of trying to churn the waters, and he forced that Monica Lewinsky issue into the light, and it proved that this internet thing could be a force in news coverage. And now, all these years later, it's completely destroyed regular news coverage, and we're almost all spin. So, but anyway, when we get to 2020, the Drudge Report sort of is pivoted away. Well, maybe a little before 2020, pivoted away from being extra hard on Democrats and being soft on Trump in particular, and they started to be tougher on Trump. And boy, nobody really knows who's behind Drudge Report these days. Drudge himself, wherever he is, I don't know if he's in charge of it, but these days they've gone hard on Trump. Trump had his French fry thing at the McDonald's, and certainly some news, they have a certain way that to negatively report this. But I think on balance, Trump probably showed a little bit of his common man sense of going to McDonald's, and Trump or Drudge Report had I think right before this they had the AI picture of Trump dressed up as Ronald McDonald, again mocking him. But I think that probably worked on balance for him. It was pretty good. And I wanted to also mention this. Now, here's National Review is certainly a left-leaning publication, I believe. Am I missed? But in the same way that I think Trump did on balance, if we go below the level of spin, the McDonald's stunt was good, despite how some of the media portrayed it. In the same way, Harris's interview with CNN, I think that was pretty good as well on balance. There's a lot of things you can poke fun at her at, but all of those issues that you might have with her interview, not CNN, with a Fox News, because it's a very hostile, right-leaning outlet with no degree of impartiality. And the things you could poke fun at her at, again, just like in the debate when they asked the question about people being concerned about the inflation, economy, she kind of just says something else about, I grew up in a middle-class family, those kind of responses. You can make fun of that, but that's really, I don't think that's her fault. It's the difficulty of coming from an incumbent administration. And on balance, I think she did pretty good in that interview. And I try to put myself in the viewpoint of someone who's on the edge, maybe in one of those 7 swing states. And I think that her going to a hostile outlet like Fox News and putting herself on the spot like that after so much has been said and written, even in the left-leaning media, about how she was not a good candidate or had all these problems, it showed she's willing to mix it up, and it showed some of her ability to have an interview, because she hasn't had a lot of interviews. So, I suppose she has since the debate time, but in the past they've kept her kind of under wraps. So, on balance, I think that's also something where Harris did well, just like Trump, I think, did fine in the McDonald's challenge. I think that's kind of what I wanted to say, I wanted to clarify a little bit about my video. You know, especially since people seem to be interested in it. So again, the idea is that everybody knows all the reasons why Trump should be canceled. He said bad things. He did this and that. There's all kinds of legal lapses. He's not a traditional politician. The January 6th thing, which was outrageous, but a lot of people seem to be looking past that, and they, I think probably a lot of people are still considering who to vote for in those 7 swing states, and that will determine the election. And if anybody wants to disregard my viewpoint about all this, I would say this would factor into the overconfidence that ruined Hillary Clinton's chances to be president in 2016. We just saw that article that said Harris is chronically underestimated. I think the person right now at this moment who's chronically underestimated by a lot of people is Trump. So we have to look below the level of spin and look at the reality of what's going on and what people are really looking at. And that's something that I talked about in the first video there. So again, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for commenting. My gosh. You know, it's easy. They always say in YouTube, you're just supposed to do whatever subject's popular, but I like talking about politics in these terms. I don't want to start something that's more popular like car repair or screaming that everything's woke. This is what I like. This is an interesting subject. We can get into the reality of it instead of the spin of it. So again, subscribe and like and leave a comment. And thanks that all the comments are nice and constructive and wonderful. So please stay tuned. I'll try to have more going up towards the election, and we'll try to look below spin and see what's really going on. Thank you. Bye-bye.